Hello everyone. My name is Mahoro MURASAWA, and I am a Japanese sociologist and ecologist. This presentation focuses on the four-quadrant scheme developed in Guattari's schizoanalytic cartographies. Moreover, I would like to emphasize the concept of universe, which is central to the schizoanalytic cartographies, and interpret the four-quadrant scheme from philosophical point of view by citing several examples. So the aim of this presentation is to guide you to the entrance of schizoanalytic cartographies. The first reason for pursuing such a topic is that despite the increased attention paid to Guattari in recent years, a comprehensive study of schizoanalytic cartographies, his most theoretical work, has not yet emerged. Three ecologies and cosmosis are well-known works of the late Guattari. They are considered reference points in the current trend of the anthropocentric thought. However, Guattari proceeds with his argument in these works using the four-quadrant scheme of schizoanalytic cartographies. In other words, the four quadrants of this work must be studied to fully comprehend his three ecologies and cosmoses. The second reason is that although Guattari's concept of machine has been extensively studied, the concept of universe has hardly been mentioned despite its importance. However, one notices that the word universe appears frequently in Guattari's writing. In this sense, I believe that focusing on the concept of universe and the four-quadrant scheme will be of great significance for future research into Guattari's thought. But when we think of the universe, we probably think of science fiction such as the movie Star Wars or the space to which NASA's rocket are heading. However, when Guattari refers to the universe, he does not mean the physical or objective space, but rather the immaterial, subjective universe, also known as the cosmos or microcosmos. As an example, consider the following drawing by a 4-year-old boy. In this picture, he drew a map of his house and neighborhood. Some characters are written in Japanese. Chiz means map, uchu means universe, and uchi means home. The path in front of his house leads to alien, UFO, and the universe. However, the path is closed in several places. I asked him the reason. He learned about the universe, UFOs, and aliens from television and picture books. He thought that the adults could travel to the universe whenever they wanted. Hence, he walked and rode his little tricycle as fast he could to look for the universe, but he could not find it. There are aliens and UFOs where I, as a child, cannot go now, but I can go when I grow up. He reasoned like this. The fact that roads are closed all over the map indicates that they are now impossible, but will become possible in the future. In any case, he believed that the universe, UFOs, and aliens all existed on the same plane as his home. Perhaps one would consider it a logical fallacy to think that the place corresponding to the entire set called universe is included in the subset called neighborhood. Is his map then incorrect? No, I don't think so. Because this map represents the universe in his mind. In Guattari's words, le plan de consistance in French, the plane of consistency in English. From a Guattari perspective, it is a non-discursive area rather than a discursive area. In other words, it is a map that is discursively wrong, but non-discursively correct. I will explain this point. It is well known that Guattari and Deleuze heavily rely on the ideas of Artaud, Spinoza, Leibniz, Nietzsche, and Bergson. The common point is that these thinkers are on the historical genealogy of notion known as mind-body parallelism. That is, they see spirit and matter as two realms that reflect each other as opposed to Descartes' mind-body dualism, which completely divides the world into spirit and matter. Descartes regarded the natural world as a material machine that operates according to the laws of physics, with only humans possessing spirit. Descartes' ideas established the legitimacy of understanding the natural world in terms of physical laws. It not only provided the logical foundation for modern science, but also made science independent of religion. While supporting Descartes' argument for understanding the natural world through physical laws, Leibniz sought to harmonize and reconcile science and religion. He believed that the material and the spiritual worlds are in harmony with one another. In this regard, he adopted a completely different stance than Descartes. This figure depicts the thought system of Leibniz. He accepted Descartes' argument about the material world. The individual thing known as matter is made up of a larger unit. According to an atomistic viewpoint, the fall is made up of individuals. For example, the individual Akira constitutes human, with other individuals like Paul or Josephine. And human constitutes animal. Animals constitute living beings. And finally, all material existence constitutes universe. The principle and laws there are necessarily and rationally recognized. Such a world is a discursive or ideal domain, and the truth of discourse supports the validity of its arguments. Meanwhile, an individual object can be thought of as both matter and an immaterial event. For example, the event Akira exists can be considered the result of events that are the event's premises. In other words, for Akira to exist, his parents must first exist, followed by humankind, animals, living creatures, and finally the universe. Moreover, within Akira, such a chain of events is left behind. It is expressed as humanity's immaterial nature, or animal nature as animality, or being nature. Perhaps this is what the medieval realist Duns Scott's concept of ekketi, in English thisness, seems to have meant. And ultimately, there is universe's nature, or universality, in Akira. The chain is not inevitable, but it is often accidental. Akira might not have been born at all. Thus, Leibniz believed that the material and immaterial or spiritual worlds exist in parallel across an individual object, and that both worlds reflect each other. For Leibniz, these two worlds are two aspects of the same one world. If there is no humanity in the material world, Akira could not exist. And the fact that Akira is a member of humanity means that there is humanity in Akira. So humanity in the material world and humanity in the spiritual world are two sides of the same coin. The same is true of the universe. The existence of the material universe is the inverse of the existence of the spiritual universe. For Akira, the universe of the material world is the basis of his material existence. And the universe of the spiritual world is also the fundamental basis of his spirit. However, discursive truth does not apply to the immaterial world. The immaterial world consists of a series of events. So the truth is nothing more than the event itself or the fact that the event occurred. Thus, Leibniz distinguished truth in the immaterial world as the truth of events from the truth of discourse. Incidentally, this system is based on Leibniz's work in calculus. When comparing an individual, in this case, Akira, to a function, the differentiation indicates the tendency of the curves in its graph. In other words, Akira's latent or virtual humanity is revealed by differentiating the derivative of the function. Thus, the arrow's lower side points in the direction of the virtual. Conversely, when we integrate the function called Akira, the function called humanity appears. However, it is an indefinite integral that cannot be determined concretely. Therefore, the upper side of arrow points in the direction of the possible. These distinctions apply directly to Guattari's scheme. We now look at Guattari's fundamental thought system. On the left is an objective axis, and on the right is a subjective axis. I will not go into detail, but these two axes inherit Spinoza and Leibniz's mind-body parallelism. In simple terms, the material world is on the left, and the spiritual world is on the right, with loose parallelism between the two. Furthermore, in Guattari's system, the right side is considered non-discursive, whereas the left side is regarded as the discursive domain. The phi, film, or the abstract machine, and the F, flow of things, are located on the left side of objective. F represents elements such as people, things, and institutions. Meanwhile, phi is the world of machines that operates by combining the various elements of F. In layman's terms, environment incorporates a subject. Meanwhile, U, immaterial universe, and the T, existential territory, are on the right side of the subjective. U represents the universe within the mind, including the subject in which all things coexist or exist despite logical contradictions. Moreover, the subject in the U has its own existential position. This is the letter T. According to Guattari, the CSO, core sans organ, is situated between the U and the T. Guattari's system appears to be vastly different from that of Leibniz. However, If we cut Leibniz system in half and join them together horizontally, we will get closer to Guattari's system. In other words, Guattari's system clearly derives from Leibniz's theory of psychosomatic parallelism. The distinction between Leibniz and Guattari is that the U is regarded as an integral rather than a differential of T. In Guattari's system, it allows the left and right axes to be related to each other. As this description may appear abstract and difficult to comprehend, I will explain it from a critical standpoint. According to Guattari, symptom formation proceeds from left to right, that is, in the order of F, phi, U, T. First, F represents the flow of relationships, various things, and ideas surrounding the patient. The various Fs are then linked together to form the patient's material or social environment. This is phi. It is through the action of this phi that the patient's inner universe is dominated or dismantled. A child with progress, for example, internalizes the worldview of parents and teachers who are only concerned with grades. Consequently, the child loses his or her place in his or her own inner universe. In other words, self-alienation occurs at a deep psychological level. He or she is excluded from the world of his own mind. Therefore, the patient's T shrinks or disappears. In other words, he or she loses subjectivity. The treatment aims at restoring T. However, it cannot be separated from the restoration of U. This is because T must have a place in U. But for this to occur, U must be transformed. To that end, the treatment begins by recombining F. It alters the patient's connection to the elements around him. In other words, it alters the operation of patient's machine. The patient has lost his or her autonomy in the whole machine and is left as component being moved by others. The therapy aims to arrange the parts of machine so that the patient can move on his own with the other parts emphasized. In other words, to regain his subjectivity. The goal is, by changing F, phi, and then U, and finally T, thereby restoring T. Unlike phi, U allows all things and ideas to coexist and be connected. In other words, elements of the real world and various functional stories and memories become elements in a planned consciousness. Furthermore, logical relationships such as part and whole or species and kind are invalid. The elements are connected not by discursive tree relationships, but by non-discursive, eventful, rhizomatic relationships. Here is a case that Guattari himself presented in his work with theory Lorenic Micropolitik. Guattari was counseling a severely schizophrenic patient named Jean-Baptiste, JB. His family and his social environment was very rigid. As a result, JB was constantly shuffled around from one medical facility to another with no improvement in his symptom. Guattari hesitated but took a gamble. Guattari offered to JB to lead his own life by living alone, separated from his family. To this aim, Guattari tried to persuade his parents to give JB some financial support. He also used his own contacts to take advantage of various public and private institutions and programs. On the one hand, Guattari was worried that JB's condition would worsen because of the changing environment around JB. On the other hand, Guattari hoped that JB's recovery would be enhanced by the challenges of his new life, by the creation of new social relationships, and by the establishment of his own existential territory. This is why I said that Guattari took a gamble. On the one hand, if JB continued to live with his parents, his symptoms might remain constant, but his quality of life would also remain low. This would make it difficult for him to recover and, in the long term, could drive him to suicide. On the other hand, if JB tried independent living, there would be a risk that his symptoms would worsen because of the sudden change in his environment. In the worst scenario, this could also drive him to suicide. If events were to go well, however, JB's quality of life could be improved and he could recover. Through this endeavor, JB encountered many obstacles, but began to overcome them. He began looking for a job, started studying at a university, and began to think about his future life. Guattari assesses the result as follows. Finally, the result was quite satisfying. In this new solitary arrangement, he began to develop a mode of expression to create a kind of cartography of his own universe, something that he could not develop in the family territory, nor obviously in the territory of the psychiatric hospital, nor in his therapeutical relationship with me. A cure, conversely, on the other hand, proceeds in TU5F flow. Guattari distinguishes the rightward flow as procession and the leftward flow as recession. This four-quadrant diagrammatic scheme is for convenience only. All my previous explanation may have been oversimplified Guattari's argument. For the moment, we are merely standing in front of the entrance to Guattari's psychoanalytic cartographies. However, this time, I believe I have achieved our goal by guiding you to this entrance. Finally, let us go back to the child's cartography. The universe depicted on that map is exactly what Guattari refers to as you. It is a map of rhizomatic relationships, supported not by truth of discourse but by truth of events. Even though it is virtual, the universe depicted by the map may be unrealistic. Nonetheless, the universe is emergent, because the child's map is a map for all of us. For example, I never imagined I would be able to tell this story until a few months ago. However, thanks to the ideas and the efforts of many people and the advancement of internet technology, a previously hidden and invisible path has been opened. those efforts and technology are the equivalent of UFOs on that map. You, the person who is looking at this presentation now, are the aliens on this map. I hope and believe that you and I will travel to the universe by UFO, to a world never seen before, and that world will become a reality. There is probably a similar map in everyone's mind, but we sometimes lose it. I believe that the philosophy of Guattari will assist us in redrawing the map at that time. Not only is there a cartography of the mentally ill who are suffering, but also a map of human society and the Earth environment. Thank you for your attention.